Call the meeting to order. Pledge of allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay.
Right.
Is this on? No, it's not. There, now it is. Okay.
Turn your mic on.
Okay, we need to approve the agenda.
I have a beer.
Yeah, yours isn't on either. There you go.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We need to approve the minutes to the last meeting.
Approve the minutes.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried. I should have said aye at that point. I doubt if there's very much public comment, being there's no public here this morning. Okay. Deputy Sheriff Lapham, it says here.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
I'm here to talk to you about two different grants regarding boat and water safety enforcement. The first one is the annual Minnesota Boat and Water Safety Grant Agreement through the state of Minnesota, and that's in the amount of $5,423. That money is used towards salary and equipment and gas and
Yeah.
renting the slip. So it's just the one we've been doing every year.
Yeah.
It's up a little bit from last year. But actually, these monies will be received in 2019. It's on a reimbursement process, so
Sure.
the grant we got last year is the money we used this summer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So anyways, so I'm asking for the board to approve that, and then I would like a resolution naming Sheriff Inglet as the authorized signer moving forward on that grant, just to avoid us having to come back in front of the board for.
Yeah. So
if anything
basically,
comes up.
we need two motions then.
Or do you want to do it as one?
Or can we do it as one?
One's fine, I just would like the resolution
Yeah.
naming the sheriff as the authorized signer.
We have two separate resolutions, so I think we should do two motions.
Pardon me?
I haven't talked about the other one.
Oh, you haven't done the other one yet?
Yeah,
Okay.
we
Okay.
need to do the one first.
All right.
Okay.
So I'll move to accept the boat grant and name Sheriff Inglet as the authorized signer.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
The second grant I'd like to talk about is the sheriff's office again applied for the federal boating safety equipment supplemental grant, and we are awarded $7,491 for the purchase of a new boat lift. The current boat lift we have, it was purchased in 2006 and it was used in 2006, and we purchased it with Homeland Security funds. And on the trade-in, through Cooley Region Docks, they're gonna give us $1,000 for the boat lift. So I feel like over the last 12 years, we spent $2,000 to have a boat lift. I think that's a pretty good deal. I think that boat lift has served us well, but we've been putting money into it the last couple of years on minor repairs here and there. And we're able to get this new boat lift funded 100% through this grant.
Who installs that? Does the company do it,
Cooley
or
Region
they'll
Docks
do
is-
it?
Yep.
Okay.
It's all included in the installation. And I would like to point out, this is the third year we've received this grant since Sheriff Inglet was elected sheriff. In 2015, we received $40,709 for a new patrol boat. 2016, we received $19,130 for a new rescue boat. And this year, we received the $74,91 for the new boat lift. So we've pretty much revamped our entire water rescue and patrol fleet with those funds. And that's a total of $66,939 the sheriff's office has received from this specific grant at zero cost to the taxpayers. So the sheriff's office is very proud of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's good.
So my request would be, again, the approval to move forward with the grant for the new boat lift, and then another resolution naming Sheriff England as the authorized signer moving forward on this specific grant.
I'll move to approve the boating safety grant with having Sheriff Inglet as the authorized signer.
This one's actually the federal equipment grant.
Oh, I thought you said federal boating safety something grant.
It's
You got it, Shar?
I just want to make sure it's correct in the minutes.
Okay.
The grant you were just talking about, I approve.
Thank you.
It's right over here, so
Yeah.
we're good. We need a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, any further discussion? Thank you to the Sheriff's Department. It's not at no cost. It takes somebody time to write those grants. We understand that, but good work.
Well, thank you. It was a team effort, so thank you.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carried.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chairperson Arnold, I wonder if I could intervene. I was contacted this morning by Ms. Eric Kruger about the Shores matter.
Sam, I can't hear you.
All right, let me try this again.
Actually, Sam, if you want to just come up in
I'll
front
do
here.
that. Good idea.
Yeah, might as well.
You just turn the mics on because they're not on.
Yeah, everything's off.
Is that,
Yeah, there you go. Perfect.
um,
Oh, turn it on. It went off. There you go.
okay. I was contacted with Ms. Eric Kruger regarding the Shores matter. Just this morning, we were contacted about whether we wanted to be involved in mediation, and we were just looking for consensus with the board. My understanding is that what's been represented to me, the board's not interested in pursuing any mediation, but if we could just have, we don't need a motion, just a general consent here that you want to forego the mediation at this point.
Yeah, and I guess that would be my interpretation, or
Right.
your interpretation would be accurate to what I would feel.
Because my understanding, the board doesn't wish to back off the previous determination.
Correct.
I'll make a motion to not go into mediation.
That's fine.
Okay, I'll second that.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carried.
There.
Thank you.
Attorney
thanks, Sam.
Yant, before you get up, do you know anything about this Fair Board lease agreement as Scott is not here?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, I've got some knowledge on that too, but go ahead, Sam.
Just that it was dropped off at my office late last week to take a look at. Really, what seems to be a piece of land that we'd be allowing the Fair Board to use on a certain basis, a couple times a year. There really doesn't seem to be any problem with the language. What I'm just curious about, because I wasn't involved in it, is the legal description. And it's probably right. But it's just one of those things that I want to find out where that legal description came from and just make sure, Shar can tell you all the corners match on it. That's really the only hang-up that we'd have at this time, is I just want to backtrack that where that legal description came from. Depending on where it came from, maybe I'm confident in it, and then just pass it on for your
So that would be
discussion.
something we would do next week.
I would anticipate
Probably.
I could probably get it done that quick. Again, it's just ascertaining the legal description, where it came from, because it's just Exhibit B to this, or Exhibit to this document, and I don't
Right.
know where it came from.
Okay.
And I looked at that. I didn't get it until, I think, Friday. I didn't get it looked at until Saturday. But the diagram that's on the map is not the same diagram that I saw as a final draft of the agreement that Scott and Brian worked out with the Fair Board. And so I emailed Brian about it, and he agrees with me that something happened in transit there, and the diagram that you got for this meeting today is not the same thing that those folks agreed on. So we really can't act on it today.
Okay.
Something got lost in translation somewhere, and we've got to go back and correct that.
Okay. Sounds good, thank you.
And Engineer Podozynski isn't here. Ms. Berge is just around the corner.
Want me to go get her?
Would you?
She's ready here.
It's been a while since we've been ahead of time on an agenda. Good morning. Didn't mean to rush you,
Oh,
but,
that's okay. Wow, you are ahead of schedule.
well, you see, there's 3 instead of 5 this
Yeah.
morning, and so the conversation's a little shorter,
Okay.
okay? That's
Well-
not the reason, but
No,
that,
that is not the reason. Justin's still here.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
I don't know what happened to Scott.
Nobody got a word?
I'm kind of concerned because I tried to call him now, and because I wanted, of course, his input on the Fair Board thing, and I didn't get him.
Yeah,
So
I don't have anything either, I just checked.
yeah, okay. Go ahead, Courtney.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to give a quick update on what the EDA has been working on over the last couple months. We have kind of two main things that we're going forward with right now. The website project, which you've heard about, which is going really well. I'm hoping that we'll have a prototype to show you in the next couple months. The other thing we're working on is this school and business partnership that we've been kind of researching for the last year. We had the Economic Summit in late February, and we had a great attendance. We had 70 people come, a good mix of educators and businesses, and we were able to gather a lot of good information to help kind of shape the project. And so what we're doing now is trying to get the information about the business. We've educated the businesses. We want to continue doing that. Now we're going to try to get the information to the schools so that they can utilize that. And so a few things have already come out of it. There's been some presentations by businesses and local schools already. There's an internship program in La Crescent that's going to be starting. And so there's some really good things, and we're just kind of hoping to plant the seeds with that. Our next step is having, we're putting together an advisory committee of educators and businesses, and their next meeting is on April 11th. So look for more information on that once we kind of have the group together and have some next steps. We are also applying for a grant. The Workforce Development is actually applying for it, but it's actually a $100,000 pilot project grant from the Department of Labor and Industry. They're looking for 5 communities around the state to pilot this exact type of work, which is really kind of serendipitous timing. So we just sent in our letter of interest, and we'll be fulfilling the full application soon. And I've also had several business inquiries in the last couple months, and nothing that is ready to go public at this point, but there's some good momentum happening. Everything from small Main Street businesses to large, thousands of square feet businesses that'll be kind of more of a warehousing thing. And so there's some good momentum on that. The one thing that we are looking at right now is the EDA did at their last meeting vote to recommend some financing to a new butcher shop that's looking to be built in Houston. And the family that's interested, they've got experience in the field, and they see a need with the deer hunting and the cattle industry here in the county. And so the EDA is supporting that, but I wanted to wait to bring it to you until we had a little bit more information, as you know, with state regulations on meat processing and that sort of thing. We're still waiting to hear on a few last details, and so look for that in the future. I did include the annual report here, just so you can kind of get an overview. I just put together some of the information on what we did over the last year, and I don't really want to run through it word by word, but essentially, we're continuing with some of the administrative things, some of the more boring things like updating bylaws, and that's all good to have done. And then touched on the educational programs, some of those business development projects that we were able to participate in, and a lot of community partnerships, which I'm really proud of. So I don't know if you have any questions for me or if you had any questions while reviewing the annual report. I know we have a public hearing today, and will that still be scheduled at 10? Yep. Okay.
Yeah, that
So
has
we
to
can-
be,
Yep.
it's announced for that time, so
Right.
that's the time we do it.
Yep. So if there's no other, questions regarding that, I guess I can swing back through for the public hearing, but.
Yeah. No, I have a question on the meat processing thing, just from a practical standpoint. The people in Eitzen had, for a while, a really aggressive plan. They even rented a store here in Caledonia to get some more outreach on sales. And then they ran into such a problem with government regulations that they basically had to pull way back. And they're scaled down now to where they're just a slaughter facility for individuals. They can't sell anything. So I'm concerned if these people have made contact with them to find out, or made contact with somebody to find out what
Yeah.
the problems really are there.
I think part of it is just the funding. It's just really expensive to put together a processing plant like that. And so
Yeah.
it's my understanding that in the Eitzen situation, it just came down to scalability and
Yeah.
not having maybe as much of the upfront resources to put towards that. But
Yeah,
I did meet
okay.
with Eitzen last summer, it would have been, to kind of talk about how business was doing. And I understand that they had kind of a new owner or a new manager at that point. So yeah, but we're keeping tabs on this Houston project because we want to make sure that, the bank is comfortable with it and the business plan is sound and that the state regulations are met, because I'm not smart enough to know all of that, so I'm going to leave that to them.
Yeah. Oh, sure. But just so, it's a great idea. But the practicalities are kind of, I'm hoping.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is getting support from financial institutions, which we always try to take the lead from them. But
Okay.
any other questions?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Courtney, Jack won't be at the meeting tomorrow morning. And we've got,
Morning?
I mean, next week?
isn't it an EDA tomorrow morning?
Nope, next.
No, next week. I'm
Yep.
sorry, next week.
He won't be there for that either, though. will he?
I'm not sure. I don't.
I don't think so.
think
He's not going to be
so.
at next board meeting.
He won't be at next board meeting, which means he won't be there next Wednesday either.
Okay.
I'll be there.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
9 what? Oh my. Okay.
Should do the action items. Go through that stuff and get her done.
Well, either that or go to Carol.
Oh yeah, yeah, right.
Would you like to do yours now?
Yeah.
February would be one of those months that some departments can be quite shocking when it looks like, because they paid, things that cover 6 months of the year and we're only in the second. So some of those the departments listed in the summary do show that we're kind of way behind, but it is typical of this time of year.
Right.
I don't know if there was anything you had noticed that stood out aside from the probation department is showing that, and that actually has to do with the fact that the state was behind in their billing, and they are going to show being over budget this entire year because we were supposed to pay our 50% of the probation agent salaries last December, or which we typically do, but they didn't get the billing out until January of this year. So that's $90,000 that will, it was budgeted for last year but paid this year, so it's going to show.
So
as
do
them
we have to
being
do
over.
any kind of amendments, or are we just going to have 3 bills for?
We will just have 3 bills. We had the same thing happen with our sentence to serve a couple years ago. It's
Okay.
just not that big of an amount, but it's just something to keep in mind, that it's not that we're really over budget, we're just spending money that
From
was
last year
levied
now.
last year. Mhm.
Okay.
Contributed to budget surplus last year.
It did. Mhm. And I think I had discussed
You,
that
you
then when
talked
we were
about
talking
it.
about being.
I remember it now.
the budget
I
surplus.
talked with Carol about this earlier this morning at the Finance Committee meeting, and I remembered, in the meantime, yeah, you talked about that at the end.
Yeah.
Back in January, I think it was, when you reported that, yeah, we hadn't gotten a bill, so that helped our
Yeah.
end of the year
It helped our
balance.
bottom line.
Yeah,
Until we move to modified accrual in our financial statement, then it shows as a payable
yeah.
due to other governments. So it will come out in that report, but not the cash reports that we use
Yeah.
monthly. So
Yeah, and what you were giving then was a cash basis report instead of an accrual, and so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
Aside from that, that's pretty much the action that happens between now and May, until we catch up our year, and then in July, we'll start the same thing where we pay 6 months in advance and have to spread out the year.
Yeah.
Was there anything else that caught your eye that you would like to have looked at?
No.
No, I like it when you send it out ahead of time to review.
Mhm.
That really
Yeah.
helps. I did wonder about that probation a little bit, but that makes sense,
Yeah.
that we didn't pay it in December.
Mhm.
Right.
And just an update that the tax statements, I think Donna said they're being mailed today.
Oh, good.
So
Yay.
tax statements and valuation notices. So maybe expect some phone calls? I mean, the county portion, of course, on the majority of the tax statements went down.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean the bottom line of the tax bill went down because we
Because of
had
school districts
levies.
and local.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
so we'll see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you, Carol. Well, now, okay, we can just as well move on to claims, human services, and license center disbursements.
I move to approve claims, human services, and license center disbursements.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Correspondence to payroll regarding the hire of Shane Loken as Network Help Desk Director, and correspondence to Airport Commission members.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried. We're down to discussion items. We got all kinds of time.
Brian's here now.
Oh, there you are. Mr. Podozetsky, sir. I'm sorry. I was looking down here. I didn't see you coming in.
Yeah, sorry, I was tied up talking about our co-op plan that we're working on for this afternoon. So, yeah, so I'm on the agenda today to talk about the porta potties, portable bathrooms down at Wildcat Park. Last year we shut down the bathrooms that were on the south side because they were in poor condition. Instead of doing repairs, we rented porta potties down there. 3 standard porta potties and 1 that was handicap accessible unit. We've looked at various options for this next year. You know, do we want to continue going that route? Do we want to, you know, if we do we want to buy our own and then have someone come in and clean them, or do we want to, you know, rent with the cleaning? So what I present to the board, or what was submitted to the board, was for 3 options. On Option A was to rent porta potties with servicing. Option B would be to purchase porta potties, and option C would be to just service them. So essentially, you have the option A, which does everything, or you buy them with option B, then you hire someone through option C to service them. When you look at the numbers, if the county went to purchase porta potties, the cost for the 1 year cost would be $2,565 to purchase 3 regular size and 1 handicap. And then to maintain them, we got 2 quotes on that. It'd be about $2,400 to $2,800 per year to service them, at least for the initial year. Versus renting with service, we got similar prices as just servicing them. Prices of $2,370 to $2,952.42, based on 26 weeks. So the one quote we received for option A was at a monthly rate, and the other one was at a weekly rate. Instead of providing it based on the standard 4.5 week month, they bill based on a 4-week billing period. So that's what that quote was. The other item that we requested this year with the quotes was pictures and age of the units, because we know that there's different levels of quality of the units. The pictures that I provided to the board from Storley's Portable Pit Stops, that was what was down there last year at Wildcat. Those units are still sitting down there. They did not provide any pictures with their quote. So I went down and took some pictures and provided those so that we could see what was down there previously. Those units are a little bit older. They have some issues with some, like a hinge being broke or a door not necessarily latching completely, or having some gaps in it. I've spoke with Storley's to find out if they plan on using those same units down there this next year, or swapping them out if they were selected. And they said that they'll work with the county if we want to have different ones down there that are newer, better condition. They would be willing to do that. Their concern was, putting brand new ones down there and they get used a lot. They might not get make it beat up on a little bit more than if they're used in other settings. So they didn't want to necessarily provide the best units down there if they're going to get damaged. But they said they are willing to swap them out if the county's looking for something different.
Would there be an increase of cost then, too? For new ones?
It did not sound like it. I can have some additional discussion if the county goes that way and make sure we get what we need. The other quote that we received was from Precision Pumping out of Hoka. They provided pictures with their proposal as we requested. Their units are all newer and stuff, and so I guess my
And their quote was basically for the pumping and the upkeep.
So the quote would be to go down there and maintain them or service them weekly. So on either Thursday or Friday of each week. So it's done right before the weekend. That's providing the unit plus maintain them weekly. We're anticipating about that 6.5 months, 6 months, depending on how long the camping season ends up being with the weather.
Right. The quote for buying them is $2,000. Wait, it was right here at the beginning.
Yep. So we received one quote for buying them, $2,565.
And then that would be a one-time deal.
That would be a one-time cost. Yep.
And then yearly maintenance would be $2,700.
So A1 Precision Pumping submitted a quote for selling the unit, although they asked that if we buy it for them at that cost that they provided, that we'd hire them to service them for 2 years, because there'd be current units that they do have uses for elsewhere. If they wanted to provide us with the price for a brand new unit, the cost would be higher, and they didn't want to put a cost out there for a brand new unit at a higher cost. They said it's just probably not the way that we want to go. So they gave us a quote, you know, that if we serviced them with them, so we'd have an annual savings of $200 less than what would be to service them with A1. Spending $2,500 for that $200 annual savings probably isn't cost effective. And the other thing is that their cost is higher than Storey Pit Stop for you know, maintaining them. You know, the Septic Pros submitted a lower cost for maintaining them, but again, it's their cost was $2,400, which is in the ballpark with Storey's as far as providing and maintaining. You know, when I look at the numbers, you know, I think having someone provide the unit rented and maintaining is the way to go.
Well, then if they get wrecked, you know, if something happened, it's not we have to buy them again. It's on them.
Yep, you know, and both companies, you know, they kind of said, you know, yes, they, you know, they might have some insurance that will cover damage and stuff, but if they get abused and if there's a repeated pattern, you know, the county's going to need to step up and help out. But if
Which
it's
is
you
fair.
know, a one-time occurrence, you know, they understand that there's some potential for damage down there.
Well, and I'm thinking like even not intentional damage, but you know, either weather related or even if a door hinge falls off, you know, then we don't have to worry about
They'll
getting
take
new
care
ones.
of it
You know,
as part of
if the hinge broke or a
Yeah.
toilet seat broke or something that, you know, not that somebody's going in there and kicking them over and lighting them on fire and stuff, which happens, I guess.
Yeah,
but
normal wear and tear.
more normal wear and tear. Yeah, exactly.
And they would cover all that as part of their agreement, their rental agreement.
Yeah.
Sounds like that's a better route for us to go at this point.
Yeah.
Because to buy them and have damage, and we're upkeeping them.
Yeah.
And I would
And-
think,
and if we buy them, then they probably stay there the whole year.
oh yeah, that's true too. Because do they pull them out? In the
They were,
off-season?
you know, last year was the first year that they were done. They were left in throughout the winter.
Oh, they were.
They're
Okay.
still out there. They're unlocked. You know, we talked about locking them up during the winter, so that way, you know, they're not accessible.
Sure.
But they were unlocked this winter. They
Okay.
could have been used. They weren't maintained.
I think, do you need a motion to go ahead with a rental agreement?
Yeah, if that's the option the board wants to go with,
Yeah.
and then
I
you
would
know,
think so.
if you have a preference with one or the other, like I said, Story is the cheaper of the two options. You know, I can talk to them about, you know, do they want to swap the units out to put in, you know, a newer, nicer unit, or you know, if the board's okay with what's been down there in the past, we can keep that. I guess I need some direction from the board on what you want to see.
You know, personally, I guess I don't think if Wildcat is getting to be too crazy of a place, you know, party hard type thing, you know. So I guess my initial thought would be that if we're using these in, I guess we say in replacement of permanent nice bathrooms, I would like to see a nicer you know, portable unit down there. Just obviously it's county property, and if it's going to be used as a
And
primary
it's getting
bathroom,
busier than ever.
right? I guess I'd rather see a nicer one. I'm not concerned about having big drunken brawls down there and people wrecking them. I don't think it's quite that type of a atmosphere, so I wouldn't be worried about intentional damage like that. But obviously, you know, if it was something where it was temporary for a few weeks or a month or two, maybe I wouldn't mind. But if it's going to be down there all year in a primary bathroom, I'd rather see a nicer unit. Is my
Yeah.
initial reaction. I don't know.
If we can negotiate something like that with a company.
Something with carpet in it and, you know, real nice. No, you know,
Yeah. Sure.
but you know, I mean, just something in not necessarily brand new, but just not
Newer.
shoddy. Yeah. But
Well, I made a motion to go with the rental, and
Yeah.
you come back, you know, you can research the final figures for us and
yeah,
better
I would give Brian the
go ahead.
yeah, I mean, whatever you can do, if that makes sense. I mean, you.
Yep. So what I'll probably do is I'll go and speak with Storley portable pit stops, and, you know, they'll honor that price. We're swapping out the units for a newer unit within the last few years old that's
Okay.
good functional condition. Go that route.
Yeah, that works. Okay. You made the motion?
Yes.
Okay, well then, should I second it? I'll second it.
Yeah, the odds are pretty high.
Well, you could do it too.
Yeah, that's true
Can't
too.
afford it.
Okay,
That's true too.
moved and seconded, and I think we've pretty well discussed it. So all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign, no. No opposition, so motion carried.
Is there plans in the future, Brian, to put in a permanent one similar to the other, or you don't know till after the next park meeting, I suppose?
We'll have a park meeting here in about a week and a half, I think, I'm not sure if it's set up here for next
Okay.
week, but,
Because that first batch is beautiful.
yeah, I think it's gonna depend on, you know, what the county wants to do as far as budget-wise. You know, do we want to try to recoup some of the costs, expenses that have been spent on there previously, or do we want to do one more
Yeah.
improvement before we try to, you know, get that?
Okay, we'll wait till after the next one.
Cool. Thanks, Brian.
Justin got a text message a few moments ago that Mr. Connor is ill this morning. That's why he isn't here. So that's why we're at a quorum this morning. Now, I think we go to discussion items. Teresa, you had some things that you didn't get
Well,
done last
I
week.
did have
Sure,
like 7
the
or
floor
8.
is yours.
I had 7 or 8 meetings last week, but I did give you a little synopsis on some of them. One of them was EMS, Emergency Medical Services, in Rochester. They're the ones who do all of our education for our ambulance drivers, which we have like 17 in the county, 17 different ambulances. They also they get grants for getting the Narcan to different services like sheriff departments and police departments and the ambulances. The state, of course, continues to cut the budget. It went from $150,000 in the past down to $72,000. So we're working hard with less. So there's more looking for grants, more finding financial ways to cut budgets, of course, same as always. The seatbelt money, which is good that it's going down because people are using their seatbelts. It also has gone from almost 90,000 down to 46,000 over the years because people are using their seatbelts and not, which is good, you know, especially when you're in medical service. But so they're looking at ways to do the education in the office, EMS office, to the different ambulances, and then they can charge so much, which a big portion of it is reimbursed by the state emergency medical service. So there is options out there now. And I think you saw in the paper that Caledonia Ambulance now is certified to do CPR and teach CPR and stuff. So that's a really big plus too in the county. They also are going with a local accounting firm to do their audits rather than the state auditor, because the state auditor for a little tiny business was like $8,000. Their budget is not that big. And the local one gave us a quote for about $4,500. So, but we have to put in the petition by August 1st to let the state know that that's the route we're gonna go. But it was pretty unanimous that that's the route we would go as EMS. That's another way we can cut our expenditures. Then I had workforce development meeting afterwards, and we got a performance review this time. And the workforce development that we use in Houston County has 100% evaluation in their performance. And they gave it for across the whole state, the different services and how they rate. And we were one of the only ones with 100%. So they're doing a very good job working with dislocated workers, companies that's closed down, they help them find new jobs or get education for. And they're also putting a lot more stress on working with employers and what an employer needs, rather than just teaching somebody to do a job or educating them and then there's no job for them. You know, it's like going to college and working at Menards, you know, that type of idea. So they really have a very active workforce group that is only employers around the whole 11 county region to see what the needs are for the future. So I'm working with more technical colleges, working with more internships. It was very interesting. We're really going the right direction with workforce development, so.
And you heard a little earlier, our EDA person is working on that same side of the street, rather hard.
Yeah, it really
Yeah.
makes a difference to work with the employers themselves and their enthusiasm for it, with
Yeah.
internship programs and stuff like that, so. Then I had a lengthy meeting for solid waste, and of course, our contracts will be coming due, but they're like 10-year contracts. And I'm thinking we should invite their director to come to our meeting to explain the contract to us and how it works for Houston County, because actually, we have a $21,000 credit, and we could use that to offset payments to the hazardous household material, instead of, they aren't gonna mail us a check. But we need to work with them as part of the contract. So, and they also have a new, Hank retired, and we have a new interim director. Actually, he was their operating manager, so he was awesome. He knows more about the whole business, the overview, but they still have to do a federal or a national search for a new director. But I'm really, would like to send a letter of support from Houston County for this Chad Stillwell, who is extremely qualified. If that's okay with the rest of the board, I would write a letter as your representative.
Yeah, now, you talk about a national search. Is there a timeline on that search?
Within the next 2 months is what they'll start advertising for it, and that they have to do by, what do you call it, equal opportunity, you know.
Yeah.
But this Mr. Stillwell is going to apply for it. But
Good.
like I said, no matter what question we asked him over the 4-hour meeting, he had an answer for, and he had figures for. He's very knowledgeable. So I would like to support him. But,
Yeah. Do we need a formal resolution?
Um,
Well, technically, we can't do that at this point in the meeting.
no. I would be willing just to write, if it's a consensus, write a letter of support
Yeah,
and send it to the La Crosse County Human Resource, or manager, I should say,
yeah,
as a representative on that board,
sure,
if that's okay.
sure.
Okay, and I will also align him up to talk to us about the new contract, because I think it's best if you hear right from them how it's being used, what's going on, what goes to Xcel Energy, how many homes they, provide energy for. It's a good update for the board.
Yeah, I remember the other gentleman being here and doing that.
Same idea,
Yeah,
just, and he will update us on that too. The gas to energy, which goes to Gunderson, that update and that kind of thing too.
yeah, yeah.
They run a
okay.
very good business over there. Nope, that's, I think, covers the majority of my meetings. Like I said, I did speak on some of them last week, so, about La Crescent Township looking for their zoning and being annexed by the city, and I did encourage the township to work with the city on prorating property taxes over the next few years, which they have done in the past. They just haven't reached that point. They got a new board, so. But we had a very good turnout at the annual meeting for the township, 167 voters. That's very good for a township election.
I suspect from what I read in the paper that the total in that township is probably higher than the total of the people at all of the other 16 townships meetings, because I'm hearing 6, 8. Oh, man, I think I heard 10 in
Well,
one.
we had a little bit of a writing campaign going.
Yeah.
That's what encouraged us.
Oh, yeah.
Because our chairman decided to retire and not run again, so.
Yeah.
So, that brings people out right there. And that's it.
Okay.
The only thing that I had, obviously, Teresa and Fred are kind of already aware of. For the public, Teresa had brought some information. We were talking about the, I guess, contracting with a company to, with the administration, to hire administrator. Here, what was that called? Executive
Search, right.
Yep. And I thought that was an absolutely key piece of information to get, Teresa, so thank you for the heads up on that.
He had to be very good to work with from everybody I've heard from.
Yeah, exactly. So so anyway, I greatly appreciate you getting us that. I had a conversation with Gary Wires from there. Gary was an 11-year county administrator. He had mentioned that he would like to come and talk to the board on the April, I think it's the 17th, the evening meeting. He said he'd need about a half an hour, 15 minutes to talk, and then maybe about another 15 minutes to answer questions. They had talked about, or he had talked about what their company could offer. What it sounded like was in their package, they would help write the job description. They would do all the advertising and pay for the advertising for getting interested parties. They would take and narrow down the number of applicants down for us and kind of whittle out, kind of the low-hanging fruit as far as getting it down to a few good qualified candidates. He mentioned that the final candidates would do like an 8-minute video presentation that would be given to the board members so we could see. They'd be given a kind of an aptitude test, well, not aptitude test, but kind of it's not really an IQ test either, but just to try and see what their knowledge base is. And then the final selection process would come down to the board's decision, but he said he would help facilitate that and answer any questions. The cost to it looked like it was about $17,000, which we have in our professional and other technical fees. Judging just by the extent of what they do and the criticalness of this position, or what do you say, the responsibilities of this position, I think is a very reasonable offer. But he just said he would come in to talk to the board a little bit more, answer some more questions, and go through their proposal to us. And then if we choose to go with them, he said they could get started sooner than later. So
Yep.
that was very.
I made copies of all because I'm very impressed with his work. So
Yeah,
far.
and I've heard only good things about them. It sounded like other counties, quite a few other counties, have gone with them,
Right.
and they have a guarantee that if the candidate walks away within 2 years, that they will help us find another one, pretty much almost free of charge. I think there was some advertising fees that we would have to pay for, but all in all, pretty good. So that was kind of the only thing that I really had. So.
Well, that was going to be my lead topic also. I wonder if we should investigate how many other companies do that same thing and see what kind of a program they have. I'm all for having the fellow come on there, Gary, first name I guess, having him come on the 17th and make a presentation. But I would like to contact some other people and see if somebody else is interested in that, and what their fee is, and what their paperwork looks like.
Yeah, and I guess that was
I'm
kinda-
always reluctant to go with just one, you know.
Well, and that was kind of my initial reaction too. Was, you know, is there another company out there that does it, or are they the only ones? I don't know.
Well, I'm sure they're not the only ones, having dealt with
AMC
school
would-
board
should be able to
situations like
give you
this.
a
Why-
list if there is others.
Yeah.
This is the one that was at the AMC Legislative Conference.
Sure.
That they
Yeah.
recommended.
Was he the only one there?
Yes.
Okay, that's
His company
interesting.
was the only one there.
Yeah, okay.
But AMC would have a list if there are others.
That's true.
Yeah,
Or they
yeah.
might know. They
Or
might
they
say
might
no,
know.
that they specialize in it. That's kind of the only. I don't know, but maybe that would be the contact. Fred is just.
That's my contact is AMC. Yeah.
And I'm all
okay.
for competition to see if there's a better
You want to check that out?
one out there. But
Yeah, I'll, you want to contact
Yeah.
AMC?
Why don't we
Otherwise
keep
I
it on
can.
Justin?
yeah, I can head it up.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's, I suppose the first guy to call would be Matt.
Yeah, I'll talk to Matt and see what
Yeah.
what they say. So
Yeah, okay. How close we coming to 10 o'clock here? Okay, we're
About
9 minutes
8
to
minutes
go.
and 50 seconds.
No, I don't have anything other than that right now, so I guess we can either recess for 10 minutes or whatever, but for 9 minutes?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. We recess for 9 minutes until
We
10 o'clock.
have, as you see from the agenda, we have a 10 o'clock public hearing. Oh, any public comment for the closing of the
Yeah, we can
meeting?
do
Yeah, we
that.
can do that.
No. Okay. You have something, or? Yeah? No, okay. Yeah, you've got it, Justin. Yeah, those things have to be initialed.
Okay.
A reminder of the Township Association meeting next week. Next Tuesday night.
Oh, yeah, April 3rd. Yeah.
Be ready, Fred.
What was it Jack said? Not more than 40 minutes.
Not more than 3 minutes.
Oh,
No, it's a.
well, I was thinking 40 seconds, but.
Oh, well, you can go from there, but.
Shar, any other details that we need to do?
No, I
Yeah,
don't think
okay.
so.
Should motion to recess for till 10 o'clock?
Yeah. Teresa, would you like to second that? Recess to, Justin made a
second
motion to
that, yeah.
recess till 10. Okay, all those in favor, aye?
All right.
Aye, okay, motion carried. Okay, we're back in open session.
I'll make a motion to go open the public hearing.
Motion to, or second, sorry.
Okay, moved and seconded to open public hearing. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye, okay, motion carried. Public hearing for economic development abatement. Are you doing this, Courtney? Okay.
I don't know if anyone else wants to speak, but I guess I can answer as many questions as I can, and we also have the developer, Paul, here. I don't know if you want to join me up here?
Yeah, come on up.
Just push the button on that mic to turn it on.
There you go.
So I guess I can just give a brief background. Paul and I have been chatting over the last couple of months about his ideas for building some housing here in Caledonia. And he's been working with the city on a similar abatement project as well. The EDA has had a lot of conversations in the last year about housing and how hard it is to get people here because of the lack of housing. And so with that, they kind of looked at some options and finally recommended that we do grant this abatement to the developer. You know, there's a lot of moving parts with something like this. We can do up to 10-year abatement, and Paul has asked for 50%, which would immediately generate more revenue for the county. We would be essentially abating half of that back to him. But even so, it would be generating revenue. And so I don't know if there's any questions, or if you want to maybe just hear from him a little bit on what his ideas are.
Yeah, we're open to hear what.
Okay.
Sure. For those of you that don't know me, I'm relatively new to this city. Although my wife is born and grown up in Houston. I've been a builder my whole life in the Winona area. In the last 5 years, I've purchased some apartment buildings in the city here, city limits. And I guess what I enjoy doing is spending my free time and updating or fixing stuff up, which I've done with, there's a fourplex on South Decorah here, about a block away. And most recently, I bought what was the West Main townhomes. As I guess my first priority with those was to vacate the people that, or the tenants that were a little undesirable. I know that area had a bad reputation, or that housing unit had bad reputation. It was my goal to try and clean it up, straighten it up. So I guess first on my agenda, this was 2 years ago now, was to do just that. Those units are 17 years old. Hadn't been. They're nice units, but they hadn't been maintained. So as the tenants that were currently there were asked to vacate, I've been taking those units and fixing them up, and I think I'm not done with what I plan to do over there. But as far as I know, the place has the image of those apartments has gotten better, at least according to the police department and in the city. I don't advertise at all. I get several calls every week for apartments, which has kind of led me to this point, to possibly expand what I like to do. This is kind of a long-term thing on my part. I mean, this is kind of my retirement. But being with that said, the cost of building new is expensive. The risk is also there. The amount of rent that can be generated in a smaller city like this is obviously less than a larger town like Winona or La Crosse. I guess with that said, I've asked the city and I'm asking the county not only for a help with the tax payment, as long as there's no TIF money available that I'm aware of, or any other programs aware of. I've also asked the city to help with the cost of getting the correct utilities from the street into the lots. I've requested in my letter to the county that I would also like to ask the county for help of equal value. If the city should grant their investment with the utility work that has to be done in the street. I'm not promoting, or I'm not planning on. This wouldn't be a low income development. So obviously there's less or little resources available that I'm aware of to try and obtain for something like this. I know if it was low income, there'd be plenty more options I could consider. I think based on what the West Main apartments have, their reputation in the since the place was built, with low income, I don't know if the county or the city would want that, any more of those units there. You know, there's even state monies available for that type of thing too. So basically, I'm kind of on my own with this. I do have, you know, the resource, the bank, you know, financially, my bank is on board with it. They want to make sure that all my ducks are in a row before I proceed. And I also need to, you know, to sleep at night with undertaking, you know, a project of this sort. As far as the city and county, those 5 lots that I'm proposing on working on, I think they're currently generating, I think it's approximately $2,700 a year in taxes. That's total tax, and I think the what's the county share is about 30%, roughly. It's somewhere in there. So the county's share of that tax money is, I'll just say, you know, relatively close to about $700. If this project were to go, you know, the value on that property would increase to approximately, depending on how it's assessed, approximately to about $1 million. So, you know, the city and the county and they know what they have now. You know, there's that percentage of that 2,700. If the project were to go and it was assessed at $1 million, even though my investment would be more than that, obviously the city's share and the county share would increase that much more, and even whether the abatement is granted or not, even if it would be granted, the 50% of the county share, I believe, is still right around $3,200 or somewhere in that neighborhood. $3,400. So, and that's if it's granted. If it's not granted, that would same thing with the city. I'm taking a lot of factors into consideration before I say go on this. I just want to extend all my. I want to find out all my options and see where it lays before I pull the trigger on something like this.
Okay, so just so that I'm clear too, you'd mentioned that you're remodeling a current project, correct?
I've been updating all the units, correct?
Okay, so then you said something about 5 lots. So are we talking about building new on the 5 lots?
Yes.
Okay, so then is this something, the project that you're remodeling, are you requesting for that property as well,
No,
or
this-
just the new stuff?
Just the new,
Okay.
yes.
And where exactly is it again? Up by the
South of the high school.
south of the high school, okay.
It'd be between the West Main or the Caledonia Court Apartments and say where the Able building is now.
Tell me where that is, okay.
The west side of North Geary, on those 5 lots those are currently zoned for, I believe, modulars or trailers. There is a in the city's ordinance, it does allow for, with a conditional use, it does allow for multifamily.
Mm-hmm.
The time frame, I'm not committing to, but if this were to go, the earliest that I would foresee this starting would be late fall. So somewhere between late fall and spring would be the time frame. Another thing too, as far as the construction, I'm proposing putting up 2 buildings. I don't know if you've seen, I've got a kind of a generic
Yeah, we got
plot
the
of
material.
that. Would be to put up 1 building, and with all the covered garages for both buildings, fill that building before proceeding to the second one.
What's the size of the 2? I mean, as far as, are they going to be, I reviewed this, and I can't recall offhand, but for the public to know too, size-wise, are they going to be the building sizes? You said you're going to do one and then the other one. Are they similar in size?
Yeah, they both be the identical
Identical,
buildings.
so it'd be mirror image of each
Yeah.
other.
Two eightplexes or something,
11
right?
Yeah, 11,500 square feet.
And that includes, you said, the storage as well?
No, no,
Okay.
I don't believe.
So what happened to the people you had to vacate? Just,
Good question.
okay.
I don't know what I can say in public, but
Yeah.
That's okay.
the people that were not a asset to the community is the. I've asked several to leave. Several left by themselves. I had to evict one.
Okay, it's okay. It was probably not public record.
Is there a motion?
We can't do that till we come out of the.
Yeah, we got to come out of
Oh,
public hearing.
that's right.
Mhm.
Sorry.
See if there's anybody who wants to
Any-
talk. Huh?
Yeah, anybody from the public want to talk?
Is there anyone here who would like to speak to the issue at all?
This is an abatement over 10 years, right?
Yeah, it's a 10-year
From what I
thing.
saw, okay.
10-year, 50%.
And this particular abatement doesn't include the utilities?
No, that would be in the city's jurisdiction, so the county wouldn't have any
Okay,
I'll say on that.
participation in that unless the city, we could potentially loan the city some money for that through our revolving loan fund, but that hasn't been,
okay.
the
Good,
city
'cause I
hasn't
don't
asked for
wanna
that.
get involved in that, right.
Okay.
Okay.
So then we are pretty
Motion,
much at the end of public hearing unless anybody else has any questions.
no, I move, close the public hearing.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded to close public hearing. All those in favor, aye? Aye. Okay, motion carried. We're back in open session. Do we have to move to?
I don't remember how it was stated to go into closed. Did we move to reconvene or not? Or, I mean, to suspend the,
Once we
meeting?
suspend the public hearing, we're back in open session.
Yeah, just automatically.
And now we can do a motion.
Yeah, okay,
sounds good to me.
okay. So we're looking, I think, for a motion for granting the abatement.
Yeah, I'll move to grant the abatement.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carried. The abatement is granted. Thank you.
You bet. Good luck.
Big project.
And I don't think there's any.
Thank you.
I don't think there's any further business, so the appropriate motion would be welcome.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.